Hello everybody. So this month's activity with Outside the Caves Flower School is summer wreath making. We're going to be making these wreaths using an oasis ring, and the reason for that is because we're going to be using lots and lots of fresh flowers. Some beautiful flowers around at this time of the year, some lovely seasonal flowers. The stars of the show for us this month are going to be gorgeous dahlias, all lovely bright colours. Look at this one, look at that, how beautiful is that? I can't take the credit for these, my friend Jane has grown these on her lovely allotment, but they're absolutely stunning. We've got mostly colours like pinks, purples and oranges for this wreath. We've also got a nice selection in your packs of different types of foliage. This is one of my favourites, and this is actually dogwood cornus, and it makes beautiful variegated foliage in the summer. We're going to be using some of that in our wreaths. You'll also see in your packs that we've got some eucalyptus as well. And don't be limited either. Don't feel limited by what arrives in your box. Don't get me wrong, in your box you've got plenty of plant material to make your entire wreath, but have some fun and get out there into your garden and do a little bit of foraging as well. I did that, and I picked some of this lovely young ivy. Just a few sprigs, and I'm going to pop some of those in as well. So anything that you've got in your own garden, anything evergreen as a foliage, doesn't have to be evergreen actually at this time of year. The evergreen leaves can look really nice though, because they're nice and glossy. But anything that you like, any of your flowers, you know, take a few little snips, and that's where your wreaths will get that individual look as well. They're not all going to look the same if we're all using slightly different things. So don't be afraid to get out there and forage a little bit. You can also pick things like seed heads at this time of year. For example, in your pack, I've put some of these in for you, which are Nigella seed pods. Aren't they gorgeous? I mean, the Nigella flowers are beautiful, but I think the seed pods are just as lovely. There's things like scabious in your garden at the moment as well, and if you're a bit like me and you're not great on deadheading, some of those might have gone to seed, and you'll have some nice seed pods in your garden. So we can include those in our wreaths as well. So anything you've got in your garden that you'd like to add to what you get in your kits, just do it. You know, have some fun with it. Don't feel like you've got to use everything that's in your kit. If there's something that's in your kit and you think, oh, I'm not keen on that, don't use it, leave it out. You've got plenty of material in there to choose from. But I'm just going to show you today the basics of how to put this wreath together if you've never used an oasis ring before. Your wreath's going to last about as long as a vase of flowers would last. And that's because what we do is we soak the oasis ring in water, and that's what I'm doing here. So this one, you'll notice, is a very light colour. It's very light to the touch as well. When they've been soaked, they're a lot darker and they're much heavier. And it's worth paying attention to how heavy your wreath ring is once it's been soaked as well, because then when you pick your wreath ring up, you'll actually know when it's in need of some water, and after 2 or 3 days it might feel quite light, and you'll just need to give it a little soak again, just to keep your flowers alive as long as we can, because it's nice for them to last as long as they can. Now I'm actually reusing a ring that I've used previously, just because I don't like throwing these away after a single use, and I know I can get at least one more use out of this ring. So I'm going to be doing that. That's why it's got a few little dints in it from the previous material it's had in it. And again, you can probably do that with your wreath ring. When this one dies off, you can probably take some of that material out. Your greenery will last longer than your flowers, and then add some new material in. Don't think you've got to just throw them away after a single use. So, as I said, this is what we're going to be using today, our oasis rings. Now, I'm just going to get rid of that water. Now, I'm going to be hanging my wreath on the door, and I'm going to make a little hanger for mine out of ribbon. You've not got to do this because obviously it's got a hole in the middle. You could literally just slot it onto a hook like that, but I like to make a little hanger, and it's really easy. You just cut off a length of ribbon, halfway, just a little loop, it doesn't need to be too big, nice tight loop there, and then wherever the top of the wreath's going to be, just tie that around like that, give it a good tight double, triple, not even, to be on the safe side, and chop that excess off. Now as you can see, that doesn't look too pretty, does it? But I promise you, once you've got all your foliage on there and your flowers on there, you're not going to see any of that. You'll just see the hanger coming out of the top. I'll just get rid of that ribbon. Now, the only thing that you're going to need really for this activity is a good sharp pair of secateurs or scissors. And that's because we need to prepare a lot of this plant material before we actually use it. And by prepare it, what I mean is, you can see here, look, it comes in quite big lengths. We just need to cut these down into short, manageable lengths. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut down all my greenery, because the first thing I'm going to do on this wreath ring is make a base, a foliage base for it. And I'm going to go around the entire ring, just filling it up with quite a bit of foliage. That's because the foliage gives your ring a nice full look, and then I'm going to add the flowers later. Now the way that we do that, if you look at the stem there, you can see that the stems come just above a set of leaves. Now I'm going to snip that off there, can you see? And luckily that stem is nice and clean, there's no leaves on there. If there were any leaves on there, I'd be pulling those off, because in your oasis rings you need to be cutting clean stems and putting clean stems into the oasis. It's no good if there's leaves, knobbly bits sticking out, the holes will be too big and things will fall out. So I'm going to cut that off, and what I'm also going to do is cut it at an angle. Can you see that? Now again, the reason that I'm doing that is because, and I'm going to do that with everything I use today, flowers and foliage, is because if you cut at an angle, it's a much bigger surface for your plant material to take up water out of the oasis. That oasis holds lots of water. Your plant's going to suck that water out, and if there's a nice big cut, it gives it a bigger surface area to take that water up. Now I'm going to look at this piece, and I'm just thinking that leaf there doesn't look brilliant, so I'm going to take that one off, and I think I'm going to take that big one off as well. It's a bit too big. So I've got a nice small manageable piece of foliage there to use in my wreath ring, and I'd say that's probably about 2.5–3 inches long. And all your plant material is going to be cut to that size. So whether it's the greenery, whether it's your flowers, we're not going to put any big long flower stems like that. They're all going to be cut to a similar size today. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time cutting some of this cornice up. So again, look, on my stem there, you can see I've just taken that out, cutting it off at an angle. A couple of leaves there I'm not happy with, so I'm just going to take those off. Looking a bit tatty, that's much nicer. And I'm just going to prepare. Oh, that's nice. I can get 2 pieces out of that one. That's a lovely little piece there, look. Now you can do this as you're going along, but I actually like to get lots of this prepared. Now, can you see I had to take some leaves off there? I like to get this prepared before I start actually putting it into the ring. It just, to me, it just saves a bit of time. Take a little bit of those leaves. Can you see, look, I'm making nice bare bottoms there. And those bare bottoms are going to be what's going into the oasis. We don't want any leaves on there, any knobbly bits. So I'm chopping this up until I've got quite a few pieces really. That's a nice piece there. Alright, I'm going to get rid of those, not too happy with those. I'm going to keep clearing my workstation as well, just to make a bit of space. Start on another piece there. Now this is natural material, it's not artificial, so it's not going to be pristine. You're not going to get, you know, leaves with no no faults on them. You are going to get little bits where there might be brown bits on there, and you just cut them out. Can you see that one, look? That looks a bit tatty. It's got some brown bits around the edges, but that's easily solved. Chop that off. And again, if you think any of your leaves look a bit too big, chop those off as well. I'm going to get a nice pile of foliage together there. That's that one done. And then I'm going to do the same with my eucalyptus. So you'll have some of this eucalyptus in your kit. Now, can you see this bit there that's all curled over and it looks really, really sad? That's the very young foliage, and when eucalyptus is cut, that very often happens to it. And obviously we don't really want foliage that's looking all sad like that. So we're just going to take those ends off. This one looks very sorry for itself. Look, can you see? It doesn't mean it's dead, it's just the young foliage doesn't like being cut, basically. So we just trim that off, take it down to the top of the next leaves, and then that looks like a nice, much nicer piece there. Can you see without those little sad bits off? Then I'm going to do exactly the same with the eucalyptus as I did with the cornus. I'm going to cut it to about 2.5–3 inches long, pull the leaves off the bottom, cut it to an angle, and I'm going to make lots and lots of small pieces, all to a similar size there. And it doesn't take too long to do this, but I think it's worth doing it because it just saves you some time when you come to actually put your wreath together, and you know what you've got. You can get nice and organised there. So you can see there, look, this beautiful. I can't tell you how nice this smells when you're cutting it and preparing this. It's a lovely, lovely menthol smell. Absolutely beautiful. You can see why it's so good for your eucalyptus. It even smells healthy. It's got a lovely smell to it. So I've got a nice little pile there coming together of eucalyptus, and out of one stem of eucalyptus, look, I'm getting lots of little pieces that I can use. That's a double piece there I can use. That'll look quite nice. I can cut these little side shoots off as well. So I'm probably getting from one stem of eucalyptus 6, maybe 7 pieces. Now, I don't want to be putting really thick stems in. I wouldn't go any thicker than that. I'm going to throw the rest of that away. But I've got a nice pile there of cornus, nice pile of eucalyptus. Just take these last few bits. I don't want to waste any either because it's gorgeous eucalyptus. It's definitely one of my favourites. Absolutely lovely. And again, clear my work surface. And then lastly, for the foliage, as I said, I picked a little bit of ivy out my garden, and I'd love to include a bit of that because it's such a beautiful glossy leaf. And you can see there, look at those 3 together. The different shapes, colours, textures. You've got the lovely dark glossy green of the ivy, you've got the bluey silver colour of the eucalyptus, the nice golden variegation on the corner. So I think those 3 mixed together are going to look beautiful. And again, it's the same with the ivy. I'm just cutting it to 2–3 inch pieces, making sure any leaves that don't look nice are taken off, cutting it to an angle at the bottom, cutting as many pieces as I can out of each stem. And this one, look, that's just a single leaf, but there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't use that as well. And I'll tell you what other leaves I found in my garden as well. And I've actually put some of these into your kits. I don't know if anyone recognises this. Very common in our gardens, and it's a heuchera leaf. And I love it because it's that nice dark deep purple. So I've got a few of those, not too many. And I'm not too sure whether they'll look too big, but I've bought them just to give them a try anyway. And that's what this is all about, you know, having a play with things, seeing what you think looks nice and what doesn't. But I really like them. So So I'm going to put those onto my foliage pile as well, and I'm going to see how they pan out. If I don't like the look of it, I'll take them out. So it's time to start adding some in now then. Now you'll notice that you've got the plastic bottom to your wreath cover, and then you've got your oasis sticking up about 1 centimetre. Now what we're aiming to do is cover this plastic ring so that you don't see it. So as well as putting some material into the top of the wreath, I'm also going to pop some into the side there. Now I'm putting them in slightly at an angle, and I'm twisting my wreath around each time I put a piece in, and I'm putting them fairly evenly around the top. I think I've put 4 pieces, so that's my 5th piece that's going in there. And then I'm just going to put a few into the sides as well, and each time I'm pointing it out at an angle. So if this was a clock face, I'm probably pointing it out towards about 1 o'clock, putting some in the sides as well, and I've pretty evenly spaced the corners there. Can you see? Now once I've done that, I'm going to do the same again, but this time with the eucalyptus. So a little twist. I'm going to go all the way around the top, twist each time, and I'm pushing them in, like I say, at an angle. If I think my stems are too long, I'm just going to take a little bit more off again, cutting at an angle. That one's a little bit too long. Take some of that off. Now it doesn't have to be too linear, but I just want to kind of evenly spread it around the ring. And once I've gone round on the top again, I'm going to go round on the sides, popping some into the sides as well, and I'm slightly pointing it downwards towards the work surface, just to try and cover that plastic ring a little bit more. It's a nice piece. I'm going to put that there near the hanger. A bit more there in the side. Just because I love eucalyptus, I'm not wasting any of this whatsoever. It's beautiful. And I'll pop that last piece there. So you can see that that's really starting to fill up already just with the foliage. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of the ivy in now. Now I'm not going to put as much of this ivy in as I did the eucalyptus in the corners, because I do need to leave a little bit of space for flowers, but again I'm evenly spacing it around the wreath. On there. Really filling up. Now I'm going to try now these ukara leaves. Now they're quite a long stem on those, can you see? So I'm going to cut that stem off quite short, and I think I'm going to put one at the top there. Oh, quite like that. I'm going to put this one more at an angle there. Push that in a little bit further. And I'm kind of nestling these into the rest of the foliage where I can see any gaps. On the side there. And this last one can go into that gap there. Oh, I quite like that. That's quite nice. Now, I've not got them all pointing in the same direction because I don't want it to look too linear, but you can see there, I think that looks quite nice with those ukara leaves. So I'm pretty happy with that. So you can see there then that there's quite a bit of the ring that's been covered but there is still space left because obviously we've got to put all our gorgeous flowers in there now. Now I do have some spare foliage, so if later on I find I've got any gaps and I want to bulk out a bit more with foliage, I can do. But for now, I'm going to leave the foliage and I'm going to start on the flowers. Now I'm going to start with what I call the secondary flowers. Now these are the ones that aren't the stars of the show, if you like. To me, the stars of the show for this wreath are these beautiful dahlias, these gorgeous coloured, just look, they're so stunning. But then we've got a few other flowers. We've got some verbena, bonariensis, and I love verbena. It's just such a beautiful flower and it's really long lasting as well. We've also got they're all my favourites. I can't choose a favourite. It's like choosing between kids, honestly, with flowers. I keep saying this is my favourite, this is my favourite, but they really are all my favourites. This Lysianthus is beautiful. It's got a real look of a rose about it, but it lasts so much longer than a rose. You don't just get the flowers with it, you get these beautiful linear buds as well. So I'm going to break that down. I'll show you how to do that in a minute so that we can use that in the wreath. I've also bought some of these straw flowers, posh names, Helichrysum. They call them, can you hear the noise they're making? They sound like paper. They call them paper flowers or straw flowers, and again they're really lovely. Not so much that one, that's lost its colour, but these are really pretty, so I could include some of those if I want to. And I've got a few little chrysanthemums there as well, and I've got the little tiny ones so I can just dot those around the wreath. So I'm just going to put my wreath to one side for a minute and I'm just going to start breaking some of these down. So I'm going to start with the Lysianthus. Now this Lysianthus, you can see this is only one stem, but it's got all these different stems to it. Now as I said earlier, we want everything to be about 2 or 3 centimetres long. So I could either use those buds like that as one piece, or I could cut them further into separate little pieces, and that's what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to take the gorgeous flower heads off. Absolutely stunning. Love them. That's a slightly lighter colour. That's what I like about Lysianthus as well. You get so much plant for your money there. They all look really different. Break those buds up again. This one's nearly white. That's really different. All on one stem we've gone from, can you see? Deep pink, light pink, white, all on one stem. Beautiful. That's the last one there. I'm just going to take that bud off. Cut that a bit shorter. So you get the idea. I'm cutting this down and it looks like you're just wasting so much, and you are really. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't put those foliage leaves into your wreath if you wanted to. So maybe hang on to those if you want to. I'm not going to. I'm going to put those away. But again, it's personal taste. It's whatever you like. Now, same with the chrysanthemum. That's one stem. And again, we're going to break it down into its smaller components there. So you can either have a little cluster together like that, or chop them down even further and break them into tiny little pieces. I'm going to leave some clusters together of these, I think. I'm going to chop these all into little small pieces. Now that one, can you see the leaf there? We don't want any leaves going into that oasis, so we're going to need to break those down so it's just single clean bare bottoms going into the oasis. And again there, look, I'm going to take those 2 side bits off there, and I'm going to leave that one as a little cluster. And I'm going to break all of those down. And then I'm going to do the same with the Helichrysum. Take a few of those off, making sure I remove any leaves. So these are all, as I said, what I call my secondary flowers. They're not the stars of the show, but they give extra texture to the wreath, a bit of variety to the wreath. I'm just going to take a few of those off. I'm not going to use those light coloured ones, I'm not too keen on those. I'll just put that chrysanthemum down in case I need that later. And then the verbena, I'm just going to cut that again into small pieces. Now this one, can you see it's quite spread out, so I'm going to take the two sides off, use those separately, and that one there. So I've split all of those up. Now this is quite nice. On my chrysanthemum, I've got a little bunch of buds there. I think they'll look nice as well in, so I'm going to use that little bunch of buds. Just clean up my workstation a little bit. And then I'm going to just break these helichrysum down just because they're a darker colour. Now this one is a little bit droopy. I'm still going to use it just because the other flowers in the wreath will, oh it's flopping there, they will hold it upright when it gets into the middle of the other flowers. I could wire that, but I don't want to wire that because I want the stem going into the oasis so it can take up water. Now, I showed you earlier the little seed pods. So while I'm doing this, I'm just going to cut a few of these seed pods from the Nigella, again, into small pieces. Not too many of these, but I do love them. I think they're really nice. I love everything to do with flowers. There's not many. I've yet to meet a flower that I don't like, believe it or not. Anyway, I can't think of one I don't like. No, really can't. So, I've got my secondary flowers there. And what I'm going to do is start popping those into my wreath now as well. So, I'm just going to do exactly the same as I did before. Put them in at a slight angle. Spread them out, so I'm going Lysianthus first. So I've got 3 sort of flower heads in that bunch, so I'm going to spread them out quite evenly. And then I'm going to start with the buds, popping those in. And just spread them out, not too, I'm not getting too caught up in everything being even, but I don't want all the buds in one place and all the flowers in the other place. So I'm angling them all to that sort of 1 o'clock. Again, I've got a couple more buds there, so I'm going to put that one there, give it a twist, put that one there, give it a twist, and that one there. Back to the top, and I think I'm going to pop some of these helichrysum in now. So again, I think I'm going to go more towards the centre with that one there. And I'll go for a lighter one against this dark wreath. Now I like to keep my designs quite loose, especially for these summer wreaths, because I like them to look big and blousy. You could keep it more compact if you wanted to, more circular. Again, it's personal choice, and that's what I love so much about this. And doing this and seeing your wreaths as well. We all start off with the same materials and we all end up with completely different wreaths. It's lovely, and that's all just down to personal preference, personal choice. So I'm going to put those in like that, and then I'm just going to pop a few of my chrysanthemums. Can you see I'm just twisting all the time, popping little things in, giving them a twist, just so I've got a reasonably even distribution of the flowers. I've got some that are a bit more upright, some that are more at an angle. This one's quite a big bunch. I'm having that sticking out the side, that one. And I've got, that's another bunch. I'll leave that one for a while. I don't want 2 bunches together. That's a single one there. Another little bunch there. Now I'm going to save the rest of them just to fill some spaces in later. But I'm just going to pop a little bit of verbena in now. Just a few pieces. Oh, it's looking so pretty. So pretty. And you'll see as we're doing this lot, you can see less and less of that plastic. And you see it's all becoming covered. Just put this last little bit of verbena in. And you can see there, look, that's really starting to come together now. And of course the phone's ringing, just as I'm doing my video, never mind. And then lastly, we're going to put some of the Nigella seed heads in. So again, I'm just having them just popping out here and there, just nestling away. Looking really nice this is now. One on the inside there, another one on the outside. I've got one more, there it is, and I'll pop that one on the middle there. So that's most of my secondary flowers in, and that's really coming together. Absolutely lovely now. Oh, so now's for the exciting bit. We're going to get dahlias in. Now I've just got to show you some of these, just so you can see the beautiful variety that you've got. So you've got some of these. Now, excuse me if Jane happens to see this and I get these terms wrong, I apologise, because she's a bit of an expert with dahlias, I'm not. But I think these are a cactus dahlia, and look, aren't they lovely, the shape and the form. Then we've got the more flat-faced one, I'm sure that's got a proper name. I don't know what it is. And then look at this, just look at this, seriously. A little pom-pom. And you see, just look how beautiful that is. Up close, absolutely gorgeous. Look at this, look at the colours on that. It's kind of orange and pink all together, absolutely stunning, stunning they are. Got another pom-pom there, orange pom-pom, and then we've got some same colour as the cactus. No, they still are a cactus. And then we've got the lighter yellow as well. Now that one's just starting to come out, that's why it looks a different, slightly different shape. It's not as much in bloom, and it had a eucalyptus. That's what it'll look like more when it comes out. So we've got a lovely variety here of dahlias. And as I said, you might not want to use all of the ones you've got. You might want to go with a more subtle colour scheme. But for me, in summer, when you've got all this abundant colour and all this beauty, I just put it all in. To me, if it all grows together and looks gorgeous in a border, it's going to look gorgeous in my wreath. So I'm going to do exactly the same with my dahlias. I'm going to cut them, take the stems down, cut them at an angle so they've got more take up of water, and I'm going to put some of these brighter coloured ones where the sort of darker bits of my wreath are. So I've got that darker hookah relief there, and I've put the bright orange next to it. Now, because I quite like a little clash of colours, I'm going to put this pink and orange pom-pom next to the big pom-pom. And because we've just got to do it in floristry, I couldn't just put two together, it's got to be three. I'm going to put this other orange one in there as well. So I've got a little cluster of dahlias together there in my wreath. And I'm going to take my beautiful pink one. Again, cut it at an angle, and I'm putting it in at an angle as well. I'm putting that one near the next coloured hookah wreath. Now, because that's quite a big one, I'm going to leave that one on its own. I'm not going to put that one as a clump. Absolutely loving it. And I'm leaving a little bit more space. I'm going to put that one in there, and I just love pinks and oranges and purples together, so I'm going to put that slightly smaller orange one there. Then I'm going for this small, in fact I'm going to go for the really small cactus one to pop with that one. Oh, they're lovely. And just look at how that's filling up now. Can you see? That's really filling up there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to carry on filling up my wreath, getting as many of these dahlias into it as I can until I'm happy with the shape of it. Oopsie daisy. See, that's how tough it is. Look, it don't fall to pieces when I half drop it. I'm going to fill it up as much as I can. So I've done around the bottom there. I'm going to carry on around the top, and then I'm just going to look to see whether any little bits, and I can see on the inside here There are a few bits that might need a little bit of extra foliage in, or some extra secondary flowers in there. And I'm just going to fill it up until I'm really happy with it, until it's nice and full and I'm really happy with it. And then I shall post a picture of my wreath on our Flower School Facebook page. If you've not joined that Flower School page yet, please do. It's just OTC Flower School, and then you'll be able to see everything that we get up to each month. And have some fun with this. Remember, it's all about your style, your preferences, your choice. There's no right and wrong with this. If you're not happy when you put a flower in, pull it out, put a different one in. You know, don't sit and worry about it. Just put what you love in there. And to me, if you love what's going in there, you're going to love the end result. And I can't wait to see your pictures too. So please post them on the Flower School page. And I'm also really looking forward to this Saturday, because we've got our next live workshop. I'm going to be making these summaries at our live workshop on Saturday as well. So I get to play with flowers nearly every day this week. It's great. So have some fun, everybody. I'll see you next month, and I hope you enjoy it. And I look forward to seeing your end results. Bye.